Alright, she is joining us via FaceTime.
Hello.
Hey, Mayor, can you hear us? Alright, well, I will be calling order this meeting of the mayor and board of commissioners. At this time, please stand for the Lord's Prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, it's art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, when we will forgive those who against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, and the glory. Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time, I'll take a roll call. Yeah.
Vice Mayor slash Commissioner Ranger,
Mm.
Commissioner Richardson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Jean here, Commissioners.
Yeah. At this time, I will ask for a approval of the minutes from the regular monthly meeting of November the 3rd, 2025. So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Being none opposed, motion is carried. All right, at this time, we have, distributions. Cool?
I'm gonna try to get through this. On page one, SVCA, $15,000. That's the director's salary plus what we kick in for programs. And then at Sweetwater High School, there's a check for $5,000. That's the budget appropriation we give them every year. Below that, Arlington Power Sports, $11,199. That's a spot slide for the fire department. Page two, if you get five, that's CHIC, that's our segment. Health insurance, 67,189.24. That's for the employee and the employer portion. Down below that, there's laws and banks, $7,747.72. That's interest for the TML bond. Down towards the bottom of the page, Monroe County Emergency Communications, $20,675. That's a quarterly appropriation for 911. On page three, Superior Sanitation, $7,206.60. That's the landfill fees for the month. On page two, fireworks has $7,087.50. That was the final installment from the 4th of July fireworks. Middle of the page, sort of utilities for $29,527.31. Utilities and water for all the city buildings. Down below that, Judy's ELED, $4,000. It's for two straight department employees to get their CDLs. The next page, the on there, page 6, Street Aid Fund, VNC Supply Company, excuse me, $12,171.71. That's for signage, and that includes the new lighting pocket banners. And drug count, there are checks for all of the city schools, for $500 each. That's for Red Ribbon Week. We used to purchase materials for them, but this year we just gave them the money to purchase the materials for themselves. On next page, Bradley's barbecues for $25. That was for it's called Tackle Monroe Chamber event. And they had most everything for that event in Sweetwater. They hosted, the chamber hosted the, state chamber. It's Transportation Chamber League. Yes. No good news. We paid for their meal that night and then I dispersed in the community and shop and all that. Right. And yeah, I believe it's the whole study. And so we done two things on the library expenditures. And then on the solid waste, 26,117.68 to WCI. That's our monthly garbage contract fee.
So, at this time, we'll hear a motion for approval of this instance. So moved. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we have a public comment period for actionable items, but, there is no one, ready to make a public comment. At this time, we have on, the agenda, a public hearing for ordinance number 1060. Is there anyone here who may comment on ordinance number 1060 to amend the budget? Ordinance number 1050 for the year ending June 30th, 2026 on second reading. Okay, hearing no comment, we will close the public hearing at this time. Um, I'll ask for a motion for approval of ordinance number 1060 to amend budget ordinance number 1050 for year ending June 30th, 2026 and second and final reading. So moved. Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Please forgive me.
Commissioner Lemongrass,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner James. Aye. Commissioner Stokes.
Aye. All right. Ordinance. Under new business, we have a appointment to the Sweetwater Public Library Board for period expiring July 1st, 2027. It is my understanding that we have a nomination of Miss Wade. Is there a motion to approve this nomination? So moved. Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion is carried. All right, Sampo is requesting to move Bluegrass, Beans and Barbecue Festival to September. I believe Commissioner Jenks, who is the Sampo president, is going to speak on this.
Okay, so if you remember when we had the Muscadine Festival, it was always in fall. And then when we decided to move it and change it to the Bluegrass and Barbecue, we changed it to May. Well, so far, almost every time that May comes around and we have this festival, it's pouring rain. And so we would like to move it back to the fall because we had a lot more success with the weather when we had the Muscadine Festival in September. So we are simply asking, Sampo is asking the board if we can simply move the festival from May to September.
Any questions or?
Are you gonna take blooms off of there? What are you gonna do?
I think we're still planning on keeping it blooms. It does seem a little different because in May it's right before Mom's Day, and usually it's a lot of flower buying for Mom's Day. So in September it'll probably be a lot more like mums, but it's still a bloom. So I don't think we have any plans on changing them.
Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I want a motion, I'll second.
No. It's your motion. I'm sorry.
Motion that we move it to September.
Is there a second?
Wait a second.
All right. We have a motion and then we have a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. We have requested bids on a generator for City Hall through the cybersecurity grant. Yeah.
Have fun. Are you feeling in danger here, Brandon? There's time for weather, dude. Okay.
All right, the one bid that we have is from McKay Southern. It's to provide and install one generator for 40 kW, 3P, 12208 volt liquid cooled standby generator. And then, automatic rental.
You say we got this through a grant. Can you tell me again how much is the grant and how much is?
Well, the grant's actually for 51,000, I think. We were hoping the generator would be somewhere in the $30,000 range of that grant. I don't know what it came in at, but
It came out at $98.00. So just under 40.
I do think that'll be 100% funded by the cybersecurity grant that Landon Party applied for us.
Yeah. Really,
And do we want Landon to look through this bid before we?
We have talked to this contractor. He was the one that gave us the first quote on it so that we could submit for the grant. And he, we can double check the bid specs, but if you want to do an approval contingent on it matching the specs that we sent out, we can review that.
yeah, equipment is 21,000. The
Installation.
installation is 13,603 with a total of 48,138 and 49 cents. So the generator itself is under 30, but services of installation.
Okay, so on that, we didn't get the cybersecurity. We weren't sure if we were gonna get the cybersecurity grant at the time we passed the budget, so we still budgeted all the same stuff that we normally budget in network working for the year. So we would not have to do a budget amendment to be able to approve this because there is enough money budgeted in computer networking. But
The grant's 51,000, right?
the grant's about 51,000. Of course, we were gonna have kind of computers and stuff with that too. The screen that's mounted on this wall is about $4,000 and that's already been purchased today. So, I still have enough money in network supply, but that means maybe some of the computers we were originally gonna buy in the grant, we might be able to, we might have to use it on the generator instead.
Anyone else want to review this before voting? Obviously, is Landon here? Will he be reviewing this just to make sure it meets specifications?
Is there a warranty on all of that?
For 1 year. Labor and material, 1 year is typical.
And is this still what Landon wanted to purchase if it was this expensive?
I'll have to talk to him about what he wants to take out of networking versus out of the cybersecurity grant. The reason we applied for the grant was to buy the generator. We just kind of didn't think they'd approve it just for a generator, which they ended up approving it. So we added some extra computer equipment in with it. But the reason we submitted the application was for the generator. We just also added some of our regularly scheduled computers that were due for an upgrade to that same grant. So I think you'll be fine with it. But if you move it contingent on having the IT directors, sign off on it, we can move it back.
This time I'll take a motion for approval of this bid. I move to approve it contingent on Landon's signage on it to make sure that's what he wants. I think that's fair to him. Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions concerning the bid? Okay. If that's not what he wants, that'll come back to the board, correct? Okay. Um, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the resolution to approve residential Oakland, um, is the resolution to approve residential Oakland View Estates. At this time, since we last met, you asked, City Attorney John Cleveland to, fill us in on where we're at based on the changes.
The original resolution would have required the successor developer to reimburse the cost of paving on a per rata basis per lot, rather than the 14 lots. And it would have been reimbursed as a special assessment on property tax that wouldn't come due until each of the lots were sold in their pro rata amount. Since then, the successor developer has agreed to pay the full amount of the original bond on the project. And the city would do the pavings and bear the additional cost. That would result in there not being any pro rata or otherwise special assessment on any of the 14 lots that were included in the original. Assuming that that would be acceptable to the board, and assuming that there wouldn't be any really even any question about it as far as the residents are concerned, because there's still no assessment of any taxes on your lots, then basically we need to do two things. The first is to open the public hearing on the resolution, although it may not be passed at all. The second thing then is to have a final vote on the resolution. My recommendation is that you all vote no on the resolution because it's moot. There haven't been other arrangements made to fulfill its purpose. That's my report on the current status as far as the resolution itself is concerned.
Okay. Because we have it advertised as a public meeting and a public hearing, I'm going to open the floor for public comment based on this resolution. Going forward, well, the resolution has changed, but my understanding is we still have the result of the process for Oakland View of the streets will be paved.
Come spring, when it's physically possible, and at that time, then the successor developer will pay the full amount of the original bond, be applied toward the payment.
For the record, any public comments? No.
Two things. We don't, they could fall apart.
So we do have it in writing.
We've had it in writing, and my legal opinion is, as soon as the board votes to not require the reimbursement, then there is a legal obligation then for them to pay when the paving's done. And, I really have no way to predict who might breach what contract plan.
Yeah. I think that becomes an issue between us and him. Bottom line is your street's gonna be paved and it's not gonna cost you anything. Uh, and then if he wants to back up to the end of it, then we'll just have to see how we're gonna collect. We might tell him he can't build any houses till it's paid. And you sit on it long enough. Well, probably back on. So, what do you think? You voted to do it? Or, let's say the bond in place. City council. Typically, the developer would, if this is in obviously, so the lane said, hey, the point developer said, hey, if I intend to pay my part, you guys pay this. I'm asking you guys to adopt it as a city street. You guys moved and adopted it as a city street. Now we're gonna pay it free, then it gives you go from to the city street. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jimmy. For me, I'm all around those about this. Those a lot of really read or you know, I think that good one that become kind of a good point at that time. I was but I think the when my orders is played, you know, it's good one of the lessons and you know, publicly enough to be free order the money in place to fill that thing. It's like involved. So
What if in January we took the actual vote to say the city is adopting it as a public street, since we're gonna be the ones hiring the contractor? It's gonna be our obligation of the contractor, whether or not the line pays, we're making that obligation. And we could do that vote in January, and at that time, John could start issuing building permits again. Would everybody be comfortable with that? Is that right in the minutes?
Unless it's been adopted as a city street. I don't think you can adopt it as a city street. So if it needs to. When it comes spring and we pave it, you can immediately adopt it.
So do you think we have to issue a bond to ourselves?
I don't think we have to bond.
You're saying we can't issue building permits until it's paved?
Nobody gets bond doing the building of the street if they just go ahead and build it. That's what we're doing. Go ahead and build. So once it's complete, then you can adopt it as a public, as a city street. Once that's, and as soon as that happens, then building permits can be issued.
But if we're willing to accept a bond from a contractor, we're willing to accept ourselves as a loan bonding. If we say we're gonna pay it, it's not as good as a contractor providing a bond.
Yeah, I think it probably is, it's a physical matter, it is. How many years have you all lived out there?
This.
19 years. And they're just like they were for you. Same street. Um, you know, we run police cars, moving truck. De-icer, maybe doing the best he can not to have a snow bank. For 4 years.
You can get one way or another about whether or not you have, the city has to bond it. I think you do. But you can accept it as a city street. My comment is just that I think that building permits can be issued until it is a city street.
So we can go ahead and adopt it as a street and that solves his part.
I don't know who has a dog in the race to complain about it.
Well, nobody I know.
Think we can we adopt it as a city street before it meets the criteria that's in the specs? I mean, as far as being paved,
The debate that I've never heard of anybody has an absolute answer to, and that's whether or not we're even bound by our own regulations.
I think we haven't done this thing. I think the process is we're gonna get a bond from the developer. We're gonna pave the streets in spring. As soon as the streets are paved, the only hitch in the wagon is, does the developer have to ask us to adopt it? Or after we pave it with our contractor, can we turn around and automatically adopt the street if it meets specs? And once we adopt it, then anyone can be issued a building permit. Is that the only hitch in the wagon as far as?
Beginning of the building permit, like if someone wants to pull the permit in January or February, we're gonna say, no, you can't until after we finish paving it.
Yeah.
If we know we're making that obligation that we're gonna pave the street, isn't that the same as a subcontractor giving us a bond? I mean, I don't know, this is gonna go, if you all voted on it officially, I would think that would be like the city bonding itself to allow them to be able to issue building permits.
Well, we as a city cannot go and pave someone's private road. Could we?
Well, and I think what Jim's argument plays into right there is this is already being used as public right of way.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
This, this there's a state stipulation. Let's say we pave the road, we adopt the road, and then John can issue building permits.
So, there's no problem at all with that.
Well, like the city, straight in, you go ahead and do a permit. And we're gonna be like, real, but we're ready to pay, but. Yeah. I understand, but the stipulation that John is bound by is that it has to be a city street. So we would have, that box would have to be. But the proof is, then we would be in a violation because we would have issued a permit without having an approved street. So I think we're closer than we've ever been. And I think it is an extremely well resolution based on what you guys have had to endure all those years. But, with what we were up against, I think the due process actually worked. Uh, so thank you guys for sticking with us. So we have a quote. Who knows that it's fall?
spring was 143,000. Was the original, total.
You know we need to make one. We'll pay that with the after. Yeah. You can pay it anytime you want that. Yeah. I know, wow, we got a big project in there, we want to get out of it, I don't, talk to them. We're like, they're down.
Technically, yes, because y'all are not over budget yet, but by the time you end up, we would have to do a budget amendment on this. But we could go ahead and tell them to start paving, and by the time it's passed, you're not gonna be over budget until after we would still have time to pass that budget.
I mean, you don't want it to be 25 degrees, I mean, you guys still have flexibility and breathability. We've paved state highways at 36 degrees, and they're still rolling.
And if we get a window of opportunity and forecast, then we can definitely move soon. But
Who's our state approved, Rogers Street?
yes,
I think that all that you need to do this evening is vote no on this resolution that was presented earlier, that's what's on the floor. And all the rest of these details can be worked out.
So do we need to move to deny this resolution?
is there any, let me ask you, is there any, because right now we have open public hearing.
Yeah.
Is there any further public comment on this resolution? Anything at all? I don't know if I have to build. You got 400 years ago. Hearing no more comments, I'll close the public hearing. So at this point, I'll ask for the motion is true.
The resolution is already on the floor. You need to have, just call for a vote on the resolution itself.
Is this a real call vote?
No, it's just a resolution.
At this time, I'll ask for a vote on the resolution to approve residential within the estates.
Do you want it to fail for lack of a motion, or do you want it to actually go down?
I don't care. I
Okay.
think it matters.
All right, let's do it this way. I think it's easier for the process. Do I have a motion for approval of the final vote for the resolution on open view estates? Hearing no motion, this will fail for lack of motion.
Statute says it has to be a vote, not the statute says the board has to take action on it at this meeting. And by calling for a motion and not being one, the board has done.
So in summary, for everybody in attendance, we have gone through a due process. We have created a resolution. This resolutions has in effect created a solution where the streets will be paved, the bond will be posted, and within the next 3 to 4 months, when all of this uh, work works itself out, we will accept the streets and building permits will be issued at that time. Okay. Thank you guys so very much. At this time, Jessica, I think you give a monthly update.
Yes, I would normally do this in the workshop, but since we didn't have one, I'm doing it in this meeting. First, Joyce's 150th celebration musical. I need to talk just a little bit about the economic impact on that one before we continue from that. Madisonville, Winchester, and Sevilleville will have representatives from their Main Street communities here at the play, which I thought was neat. Finance Department, tourism director in McMinn County, county tourism director, Amelia that did the short film, with AB Studios, my MTAS HR consultant, all came to different viewings of it. So it was neat to have those time contacts that we have in a different context come for something autistic in the community. We had hundreds of hours a day of crew time, which we do report on the National Main Street report every year to keep that certification. That's how many volunteer hours we had. It ended up being our largest Main Street fundraiser yet again this year, and Main Street will end up designating a certain donation back to the city, specifically designated to Josh as a bonus for his work putting in on that. So everything that he does for the musical is not on the point with the city. It's strictly Main Street kind of compensates him for what that is. So they'll be sending back a donation on that. And at some point, you'll probably see that in one of the reports. This weekend, we have the Christmas parade on Friday, the Christmas market Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Polar Express Adventure and Jingle Bell Shop on Sunday. On Monday, we have the candlelight service on the 8th at 6 p.m. And I hope all of you are able to meet there in the monument that we have to rededicate Siemens will happen during that ceremony. Congressman Fleischman's going to be here to introduce that monument. And then Eric Weaver, who was one of his commanding sergeants, is going to say a few words about Johnny. His family will be here, and there are some people that he served with that are currently located in different states and will be flying in for that dedication. So we're excited about that. We have a string quartet that's going to play that night. The elementary school choir and some of the people that sang in the musical will be there to sing that night. So again, Monday night, 6 p.m. It's our last event for the 150th. I hope you all are able to come to that. Last meeting, I gave you an update. I didn't quite have the numbers in front of me, but I told you I think we ended up breaking a record, and we did. It was the largest number of people in town citywide for one day so far in 2025. It's actually down about 3% inside the Main Street district. And I think that's because it was more spread out, because remember citywide were much higher. So like Willow Creek, Mills Avenue, those areas had a lot of traffic. We had 22,400 visitors who do not live in that 37874 came to Halloween. So, yeah, that's why the Halloween is visible. Second I can do it. Small town Christmas was Saturday night. It was very cute and busy. We had a great time. Local vendors had their best day of the year, either on Flag Friday or Small Business Saturday. So many of our downtown businesses, that's kind of the day that makes or breaks them. So it was lots of text back about that it was their best day of the year. So I think when we get the numbers on that Thursday, we'll probably have some good numbers reporting that the next month. The retail recruiting firm has already started their work. In your paper packet, I didn't have this one. I sent out the electronic packet, but the paper packets they do have a copy of some of the gap analysis that they've already started on, which the gap analysis kind of shows you the things that people leave Sweetwater to buy somewhere else. And there's a significant amount of retail leakage going somewhere else. So this is what that page looks like to begin with. It's got some demographic data, and of course that's changed since the last time we had this done in 2019. So it's interesting to look at that information, but you can go activity by activity. For example, beverage stores. The total demand for grocery stores in Sweetwater is 162 million plus. So people are spending 162 million in grocery stores that live in Sweetwater. Only 114 million of that is actually supplied in Sweetwater. So the unmet demand for grocery stores is $48 million a year. That's a pretty significant part of that demand. So each one of those goes through the different categories. So I included that in there for you all so you can see some of the data that they're working on now. We also just scheduled a meeting today for their first on-site visit. It'll be January 20th. Sam's going to be in that meeting as a business owner and as a property owner and elected official. The mayor will be in that meeting. Haley Isbell will be in that meeting. I'll be in that meeting. We've got a real estate agent in town in that meeting and a couple other business owners. So that's to kind of give them an evaluation, get to know Sweetwater a little bit better. That'd be their first on-site visit. We're looking forward to what information they're going to bring back for us. But I hope that by February, they will actually have the recruiting packet together and done. So that would be a good start. We are setting Thursday, January 8th as our annual supervisor training, which you are always invited to. We do several hours of training that day. We kind of go through what happened this year, if we have some things we need to change up for next year, what our goals are for next year, that kind of stuff. But we're planning on doing that Thursday, January 8th. You all know I've been in that certified public manager, on Fridays, with the NAFI Center and IPS, which is the company that houses MTIMES. When we finished with that in January, thank God. Our project due in January, so at some time we presented the Knoxville program in December, and then in January we present it to the state. So when it's actually ready to go to those people, I'll put a copy in one of your all's packets or send it out to you so you can have access to that data. And so it's on the process and the economic impact of the short film, the little round column that was done. So I'll get those numbers to you and you can see that presentation. We have 2 grants that have been awarded since our last, maybe since our last meeting. Nothing with the Biggs House. First one was the tourism enhancement grant. We're gonna have a tech presentation next Monday at noon, where the state's gonna come in and give us the tech for that. And then we also did get the Tennessee 250th grant for that, so that will pay for the design work, the drawings on that. We'll have to pay a little bit of match on that, but that'll be that process. And then the tourism enhancement grant's gonna give $98,000 for that. So the roof, maybe some of the interior work, that kind of stuff. So that's a huge step forward in the Biggs House, funded by grants. And then the LPRF pool project, so the city pool, the state approved the designs that we approved in our October meeting. Those were submitted back. The state has approved the bid ad ran today, and it has a deadline this month. So in January, we should be rocking and rolling on selecting the contractor and moving forward. It is our intention to have the pool open again this summer. And it may be that we have to put like some temporary bathrooms and stuff up there because our goal is to get the pool part of it finished where it's not leaking and it's ready to use, even if we have to use something else temporary for the concession and other areas. Sam, do you have anything you want to add to that kind of it?
Just to think about the pumps, the pipes, the resurfacing of the pool is what's in this bid that's being released now. And with that fixed, up and running, the pool could be open. The holdup, because we transferred the CDBG grant to basically the physical buildings, we are still waiting on phase one to be done. And until,
Environmental
yeah,
work.
and until that's done, we cannot release the building portions to be bid.
Which that's being done by East Tennessee Development District. And for y'all that haven't don't know what it is, they're literally sending letters to Indian tribes in Missouri asking if it's okay if we can pull in Sweetwater, Tennessee. Like it's like, I hate to say ridiculous, but it is a process that you have to go through to be able to use the federal grant money. And we've never been turned down for any of it. It just takes time to do it. So, and that the East Tennessee Development District's administering that part of it for us. So as soon as they get back with the environmental clearance, we'll be able to move forward on the CDBG part of that. But we did have to do a full environmental on it since CDBG became a standard. That's everything I have for my updates. Anybody have any questions?
That's right. Yeah, we will ask for bids from the business. And we'll start with you. We really for the Boys for Kids program, so if you guys run into anybody that need any assistance for toys or anything like that, be sure to and send them our way. We've got some planned resources for that. We're also ramping up our elderly care program during cold weather and stuff like that. You know, we got up to this tonight to go and do those things just to make sure that you run up on anybody that you feel not being checked on, just let us know. And you know, we have an adult protective and but we do our own and fire department straight about helping us with those. And we recently had an officer, another officer leave, Chris Brown. He went to the THP and he started the academy this Sunday. We'll have him transition. We wish him the best of luck. We'll be looking for a replacement for technician stuff and seeing that out there on paper. That's what it is. That's like when of course we let them do vaping and everything. It's really comes to work. Besides that, we get this thing is, you know, a lot going on. We just finished up the regular anti-drug program and you know, we're not got rain here with me tonight.
Can I ask you a question? So what is the plan with the homeless, especially since it's starting to get cold?
We, you know, like it's again, it's like the wind up there. That's what we try to do. We try to encourage them to go to that warming shelter. We've got an official contract with Farm and Knoxville, but we've got some good resources except for one thing that really that we gained a lot with a great officer. We should have he left Knoxville County, he had some experience in court and homeless on places like that. So we've got some of his contacts that kind of help us get him like that. Like I said, you know, like they've got a rich talk up there to talk to the leaders and just help them with warming shelter. I did this thing, I don't see the name for the home, you know, almost like I can honestly say that, you know, the last few weeks or a month, you know, we did put some effort in, you know, kind of places and stuff like that.
Okay,
Hopefully it'll get better.
thank you.
It is gonna be built, that's a big. Campbell? Thank you guys, it's going well with the planning department, Jessica mentioned, contracted retail, identifying those gaps, and hurry into that is identifying parcels that could be marketed. There are some out there that are on our radar, that could be marketing. One of those was essentially the old Dollar Tree building, and it just sold it, so I think the previous owner didn't get no something, he was looking for a long term in it. But he got all very good with the, that building, that home. And I've heard from the new owner yet, what they may or may not do, but we do have some ideas based on what other locations they got. So, not anything big or exciting that anybody, don't love to see covered, but that's, unless, like I said, unless they surprise us. I think so, it's the, still rolling along with the free, phase three up there. They had a little bit of speed bump a week or so ago. But I think they're back on track, up and running again.
Again, it's still going to be a little up there currently. They did contact me while on vacation last week to, inquire about submitting a site plan to finish it out. Just build out phase four and build out the whole thing. So, sounds like the big plans coming up for the next couple of years to get that built out. It's good. It's good for Sweetwater. Bring that project done. Also, another developer came in last week to look at a lot of the, it's not owned by the Worthington Group. It's super parcel, but it's not a owner. They're making the difference. They were buying and bringing turn off this pretty circle, we've already kind of, but then there's that vacant field before we get there. On the original plan, Slow Creek, those were gonna be counted as well. It's gonna look like we're already there. But at some point that changed, I think we didn't develop them, look at all these things, get the big facility in there. But these guys were interested in going back to the original game plan and putting more townhomes like that are there. So may or may not in the money to make the city, but these guys will buy it. You can do that in a lot of different. This is more like. Not paying the hospital plant to go in on the Park Drive, like the old Memorial building up there where the old panel bar. So they should be coming in relatively soon. It won't be a whole lot of, disturbance to the actual property, the buildings there, they're gonna move that. Then what will be, not much of a building, it's structure there. It'll be, pretty simple. Think we'll be good. Didn't need to work on the whole lot, department. Breaks, stuff like that. So could be a good thing, of course, they promise not to make a whole lot of noise and dust and things like that. We'll see, we'll hold and do that when they give you. And then, of course, we want everything, if it's the environment that they've got on. Safety, it's the I-75 industrial park that is everybody, the annexation that you guys recently did. And this got site plan the next day, and submitted their site plans, road plan, calculations for all the drainage and retention, and all those things. That all those people will go through to get to the planning. So they're moving forward pretty quickly. They sent some documents off on the drain, widening the road out there. So they're moving forward pretty quickly. Trying to get that up on the agenda and get all the front end work done as quickly as they can before they actually start moving any dirt. So back when we'll next week be in the planning commission and then we'll have to review all that stuff and make sure everything's in order and back to it. So what we're doing, you know, the community look the side of things and talk about today. Most of what these days we're right now, we really see, you know, too many people in the home yards this time of year and more of the trouble. It's like things filing, the morgues and those living in stands and campers. That's what you do.
Thanks, John. Parks and Rec, Eddie. What you got?
Everything's going good, got all our Christmas decorations on. Finished up the final ones today, everything's lit up all over town. And we're working on, we're doing some renovation on our fields, waiting to make small renovation, and I'm still looking at possibility, like, the property behind Brown. Adding the field at no cost. So we utilize that over that. They've been using more than for cleaning. I've been doing measuring and laying out. I think I can squeeze them another spot to be able to over there. So
Be great.
and we working on a place for our junior football to practice with not getting the net for your wearing it out. So a few good things going on. We had 8 degree good.
Let's do something else.
Everything good.
Thank you, Eddie. Mr. David.
All of our times we were really, you know, Cloud Creek, and we're all that were thought, all that. Yeah. What do you think all the
Alright. Well, guys, as far as department heads, I personally and this board cannot thank you guys enough for everything that you guys do on a daily basis. We are extremely blessed here in Sweetwater to have you guys in place, to have the staff in place. And working across East Tennessee and Middle Tennessee, we get the pleasure of working with other municipalities, and we are very blessed. And you guys are a big part of that. City staff included. Um, this commission is blessed to have you guys, and I never want that to go unrecognized. So thank you guys for everything you do so very much. As far as our monthly agenda, we have hit all of them. And Mayor, do you have anything to add to it?
What you just said about the health departments for the amazing job they've done. I just appreciate and man, we do live in the sweetest town in Tennessee. Thank you for taking over.
It's what I'm here for is this. So, anytime you need it. Well, at this point in time, I will ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Alright, action item. We will- You guys are welcome to stay. We're gonna reconvene as a BB. Your new recommendation, please.
Thank you for coming. Well, thank you.
We appreciate your patience and working with us for sure. You can stay with me.
Hi.
You guys. Right, now we have a review of application permits for Denver, LLC, BBA Dollar General Store, number 31586, to be located at 844 North Main Street, Sweetwater, Tennessee, 37874. Yeah, well, thank you, thank you, checked out, and all the distance, everything like that, and I've already given paperwork for taking for doing that. Bond if we expect it for approval. Jessica, do you see anything?
I think it's Giant Cleveland cleared up one point of question because they said that as a corporate entity, they had been denied beer permits before, and John made sure that I got a statement from them affirming that they had not been denied one for like any kind of malfeasance or anything.
The question was, had they ever had one revoked or suspended or denied? And they just answered that they had been denied many times in the state for police ordinances. And I assumed that meant they were too close to a school, too close to a church or whatever. And I got a statement under penalty of perjury that they had not had any that had been revoked or suspended. And so that proved that. And we put that we added that as a part of their application.
We have no reason to deny it.
This will make a, well, ask for a. I'm gonna ask for a motion of approval. So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll ask for a motion of agreement of the bill.
Second.
All in favor? Alright, great. Thanks for emailing me that.
That's one.